1 week from today, you will have the chance to make a decision that directly impacts your life, the life of your family, and the future of this country we love.
Kamala Harris's biggest speech of her life, her grand finale, her final pitch to the American voter, was ruined by protesters with a bullhorn. As you saw there, she appeared caught off guard and surprised, maybe even frustrated and flustered by the siren going off throughout her speech. In fact, whenever she paused, whether it was in between sentences or in between phrases, you could actually hear the protesters chanting and shouting in the distance. So what they did was set up a security fence, a security perimeter for the rally. You had to go through security and then you entered the rally. Well, it turned out there were just as many people protesting outside of the fence as there were supporters within the rally itself. So here's one angle. This one includes the bullhorn, which you just heard in that clip, and you can see it's shoulder to shoulder, people pushed up right against that security perimeter. But it wasn't just that area. There were actually multiple groups marching and parading around the rally. Their goal was to obviously disrupt and cause as much of a distraction as possible. They had drums, so they were making a lot of noise. They were chanting. They were waving flags. Here is just one of those groups.
We stand with Syria side by side. We stand with Palestine side by side. Free Palestine.
Now, the reason I wanted to talk about this is because Kamala's closing pitch is about unity and how she's going to bring the party together. But this right here shows that there's actually fracturing and disunity within the Democrat Party. And I believe that this could actually cost her the election. This has huge electoral implications for her next week. I'll get into that more later in the video. But, you know, most people right now are focused on Joe Biden's comments calling half of America garbage. And they rightly should be focused on that. You know, what an insult to Americans, especially coming from the commander-in-chief, coming from someone who is supposed to serve all of us, coming from someone who's supposed to represent and unite all of America. But instead, he's calling Trump supporters, Trump voters garbage. Really disappointed in Joe Biden. And if the Newsday allows, I plan on making a video on that later today, but I did want to talk about this because, like I said, I do think that these protests are indicative of the electoral challenges, the headwinds that Kamala is facing heading into next week. So one of the things that Donald Trump does at his rallies is he usually has, an overflow crowd. He has an overflow section. So tens of thousands of people go to Trump rallies. They all can't get inside the venue, so they go to the overflow area. They watch him on the screen outside. You know, people want the experience of watching Trump. Yes, if even on a screen, just for the energy and the spirit of being with other supporters and voters. Well, Kamala Harris set up an overflow area, but that, too, was flooded and overwhelmed by counter-protesters. Yeah, so as you can see, anyone who wanted to hear her speech, they just couldn't. They couldn't enjoy. They couldn't even hear her because the protesters are so loud. It appears that at least 2 people were arrested. According to Fox News, suspects arrested for assaulting police officer outside of Kamala Harris rally in D.C. I don't know. Does that qualify as an insurrection yet? Maybe, maybe not. When people were attempting to leave Kamala Harris's rally, they were actually greeted by protesters shouting at them in the face. They got in shouting matches. Some of them were very intimidating. Just take a look at this. Very disruptive and, of course, very indicative of the fracturing and the chaos that's happening within the Democrat Party. This really could have huge implications for Kamala next week. In fact, Newsweek just published this article 3 days ago. Could Kamala Harris lose? And what they're referring to here isn't just Michigan, but they're referring to the Electoral College. Could she lose the Electoral College? Could she lose the general election due to Muslim voters, specifically in Michigan? Now, apparently there are 4 million Arab American, Muslim American voters voters nationwide, but Michigan has the highest density, the highest share of these voters. Michigan has 400,000 Muslim American voters alone. Current polling suggests that about 30% are voting for Kamala Harris, 30% are voting for Jill Stein. And even if they're not voting for Donald Trump, every vote that doesn't go towards Kamala Harris will help Trump carry the state. In fact, the Washington Post, one of their columnists recently wrote a wake-up call for Kamala Harris from Muslims and Arab Americans. This was written by Shadi Hamid. The fracture between Muslims and Arab Americans in the Democrat Party has reached a breaking point. If recent surveys are any indication, most will not be voting for Kamala Harris, suggesting a stark shift just years after they had become a key Democratic Party constituency during the Trump years. So, there's a lot of talk about whether or not the polls are going to underestimate Trump again, right? Because they underestimated him 2 times in a row. CNN's Harry Enton is now saying, well, polls have never underestimated a candidate 3 times in a row. Well, first of all, Trump is an unprecedented candidate. Trump is a force of nature in politics. But also, this right here is proof that there is just a changing and shifting coalition thanks to President Trump. And even if Muslim and Arab American voters aren't pro-Trump, even if they just vote third party, that is damaging for Kamala Harris in such a close race. Specifically, the Washington Post shares this statistic. In a survey of Muslim voters, 29.4% say they plan to back Harris, leaving her virtually tied with Green Party candidate Jill Stein, while a survey of primarily religious and college-educated Muslim voters put Harris's support at 14%. This is obviously a huge cry from what she received what Joe Biden received in 2020. Now, as you saw there in that clip, there were protesters shouting down people leaving Kamala's rallies. So a lot of people were intimidated. They didn't want to go out the proper exit. So they actually started scaling the fence to escape the rally. I don't know, kind of looks like an insurrection to me. Now, I just want to talk about the emotional impact this has got to have on Kamala Harris herself, as well as the Democrats. I mean, think about this truly from an emotional perspective for them. So Kamala spoke on the Ellipse. The reason she did this, the reason she chose this for her closing speech, for her closing pitch, is because this is where Trump spoke on January 6th. So they are clearly trying to make this a referendum on democracy, on, saying no to dictators and fascists, which is, of course, ridiculous. But there was definitely a symbolic element to choosing this place for this speech. So for Harris supporters, I think that their emotional reaction to her speaking on the Ellipse is actually similar to the reaction that Trump supporters, that Trump voters had to Trump speaking at Madison Square Garden. I mean, think about that speech in New York City. There was such emotional excitement because Trump was going to the belly of the beast. He was showing the American people that he's willing to fight for all Americans, whether or not you live in a blue city, whether or not you vote blue. I mean, it just shows that Trump is willing to go where no other Republican president has gone before. So there obviously was a huge impact, not just on the election, but just on the psyche of Trump voters for that Madison Square Garden speech. Well, the same thing here for Kamala's Ellipse speech. This was supposed to be her crowning jewel. This was supposed to be her big moment, but instead it was marred by protesters. Charles R. Down actually has more details on how disruptive the protesters were.
Yo, I'm outside Kamala's Ellipse rally here in DC, and literally the whole crowd going back in the Ellipse are just like Free Palestine Jew haters. Take a look. It's her whole crowd. I kid you not, her whole crowd. It's the whole crowd. See, some Democrats want to deny it. It's the whole crowd. Kamala Harris and her Indian voters, I guess, hate Jews. I don't know. It's wild. Just take a look at this. It just keeps going. It just keeps going. Talking about some revolution. They want a revolution. I don't know. Let's just watch this. Literally, can't stress this enough. This is her whole crowd. They're either Boston people or Free Palestine people. There's no normal people. No normal people.
So what they're chanting there is intifada, revolution, intifada. Intifada essentially translates to rebellion. It is a violent word. It is specifically a rebellion against Israelis, against Jewish people. And so the word intifada itself is just not a good word, yet you see hundreds, if not thousands, of people chanting that there. Now, protesters, they weren't just outside the rally. They weren't just on the other side of the fence. They actually were able to infiltrate, get inside multiple protesters. Here's just one clip. Multiple protesters were removed from the ellipse itself because they were able to get inside.
Stop the embargo now! Stop the genocide! Arms embargo now! Stop the genocide! Arms embargo now!
It happened the whole night. Meanwhile, Donald Trump just this past weekend received key endorsements from Muslims and Arabs in Michigan. Trump in Michigan makes play for Arab American and Muslim voters angry over war in Gaza. This was published just this past Saturday. Multiple groups and leaders endorsed Trump. Now, even if Trump doesn't win the majority of the Muslim vote, but some polls, by the way, in Michigan show that he could just flat out outright win the majority of that demographic. But even if he doesn't, just having those people either not vote for president or vote for third party, it is a vote taken away from Kamala Harris. So this could have huge ripples throughout next week's results as they come in. I wouldn't underestimate the impact this could have. And again, the fact that this was supposed to be her grand finale. This was supposed to be her spectacle. Just think about how they framed that. Just going back to the original visual.
1 week from today.
I mean, the two flags behind her, the White House behind her in the distance. They're clearly trying to make her look like the next coming of Barack Obama, right? They were trying to do something inspirational and historic, but instead the whole thing was ruined by these protesters. And, you know, if these people are this angry, don't you think they're going to do everything they can to sabotage her election? So what I've understood online, especially for the ones who aren't voting for Trump, from what I've been reading, they see the Democrat Party as more of their ally than the Republican Party. And so it's not that they want to help Trump win. They view it between a choice of, like, you know, choosing the lesser of two evils. But what they see as their opportunity is a message to send a lesson, send a message to rattle Democrats to be like, hey, you have to listen to us. You can't ignore us. We are a key constituency. And so that is clearly what they're trying to do. And if they're sending this message in the real world by protesting, by trying to disrupt, I mean, all of those people, and again, this is just Washington, D.C., my bet would be on this playing out throughout the nation, especially in a key state like Michigan. Last but not least, or actually two more things, there was a video clip that was taken of Kamala Harris boarding her helicopter, and boy, oh boy, does she look exhausted. I mean, I would be exhausted too if Joe Biden just tanked my campaign and made the news cycle super negative about Democrats because he called half of America garbage. And that is dominating the news cycles this morning. Kamala, from what I've seen, has not been asked about that comment, but Tim Walz has been asked about whether or not the Democrat Party really is the party of unity or whether they're being divisive. So he was on CBS News this morning and was pressed on unity.
I want to put it into a larger context of your recent comment comparing the Sunday Trump rally to a Nazi rally. And I would also throw in there Obama's bitter clingers, guns and religion comment from a while back, the deplorable line from Hillary Clinton's campaign, and the way that Democrats are seen by some voters as disrespecting them. And I have to ask, does that undercut this closing message of unity from your campaign?
No, certainly not.
Well, it certainly does, especially when Joe Biden, the sitting president, again, refers to half of us as garbage. How is that How is that better than calling, like, they criticize what Trump says? I mean, that right there is coming from the sitting president of the United States. What Democrats do is they try to read in between the lines with Donald Trump. They try to, put a spin to it that's not really there. They take his actual words and then they project their fears and their worst instincts and their worst impulses on top of his words. But with Democrats, they just flat out say it. Garbage, I mean, there is no reading in between the lines. That just flat out is insulting. And that's what Joe Biden said. Kamala Harris is his current vice president. She needs to be asked about that. She said, by the way, don't forget, she said that there's nothing, nothing comes to mind that I would do differently from Joe Biden. Does that not imply that you're on the same page with him? Not just on policy, but with your philosophy, with how you view the American people, with how you view America. She should be pressed on this, and thank goodness that this garbage narrative has now taken over the news cycle by storm. That will definitely be in the headlines for the next few days. But as always, all of that is just my analysis and commentary. That's what's going on in the world of politics from my point of view, and I would love to hear from you. What do you think about these protesters? Are you just like, nah, it's not really a big deal, it was just a one-time thing at one of her rallies? Or do you think that this could be indicative? This could be a sign of the cracks within the Democrat Party, and that this could, sort of be the canary in the coal mine, the first inkling of a disruption in next week's electoral results in terms of Arab Americans and Muslim Americans voting against Kamala Harris? Do you think this could have an impact next week? Let me know your thoughts, your predictions in the comments below. If you haven't already, please be sure to give me a thumbs up. I know it's a simple thing to ask for, but it really does help me in the algorithm to reach more viewers like you. If and when I am lucky enough to reach 100,000 subscribers, I will introduce both my pets, my dog and my cat, tell you their names as well as their adoption stories. By the way, I've been seeing a lot of comments saying that, like, I accidentally said my dog's name. I did not. I almost said my dog's name, but I caught myself. And I have not seen his name anywhere in the comments. So for all the guesses, they have been wrong. I don't know how that rumor started. Or if they heard, but I've read through the comments and no one has gotten it right yet. So I just wanted to let you all know. But yes, for you who have pointed out the red dot, I'm glad I could provide some levity, and I'm glad the dot is gone. No more dot. If you haven't already, please be sure to smash that subscribe button and to check out one of these videos.